right. Welcome back to the show. It still has no name, but we're here. Florida Millennial, thank you for joining. For those on YouTube, thank you. For those on X, thank you. I think X does way better. Like X brings in way more viewership for me. YouTube has been letting me down, but I love YouTube. And I mean, I'm getting a lot of subscribers on YouTube lately. It's been very good. Lots of views on a lot of the videos that I posted. Earlier in the week, I guess no, that was last week, late last week, when I took some clips from the show and I posted them. They did very well. Lots of comments. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to those who subscribed recently over the weekend. I appreciate you all, and to those who have been along for the ride since the beginning. Speaking about the beginning, I am bringing back the jacket. I am bringing back the blazer, the suit jacket, as I discussed last week when I went on a rant about how frustrated I was with everything I was seeing when I go out into the world, and how people are just dressed horribly and no respect out there anymore. People wearing flip-flops, people wearing, men t-shirt. I saw a guy the other day. This was last week, and from about the head to the kneecap, this guy was like perfect. This guy was like a Navy SEAL. He was ripped. He was all man, not in that way, but this guy who I saw from the head to the kneecap, he was like a Navy SEAL. He was ready for battle. You would not approach this guy. You'd be scared of this guy. A nice guy, but you'd be scared of this guy. He was wearing like the wraparound sunglasses, something you would see in the South. And okay, he's wearing a t-shirt, fine. But then he's wearing shorts, and it's like, okay, fine. It's hot here. He's wearing shorts, fine. But then you go down, and he's wearing flip-flops. Why? Why do men do this? I don't understand it. When Trump is inaugurated, the first thing he should sign. Remember when he had all the family around? He didn't even leave the Capitol. January 20th, 2017, big Sharpie, signing like immigration bans and all this stuff, Muslim ban, whatever else. His first one needs to be no more flip-flops. We have to get rid of the flip-flops. It's a big problem. We are announcing a complete and total shutdown on flip-flop wearing until we can figure out what the heck is going on. Too many people are wearing them. Too many men, I should say. Women, fine, you can wear them. That's fine. That's cool. But men, no. They wear sandals. They wear flip-flops with like the little like thong flip-flop, just with like the one thing. It's just horrible. Why do we have to be subjected to this? Why do we need to be seeing your feet, your toes? It's disgusting. Saw a guy at this wasn't at my church. This was at another church, wearing flip-flops to church, shorts and flip-flops to church on Sunday. What is wrong with these people? It's incredible. It's just like, you think about all the issues that the nation and society faces. You think about all the problems, all the decline and decay. You think of let's think about like the debt. Oh, the debt. Think about like, healthcare, Social Security. I think sometimes we're kind of thinking about things too macro. Like, yes, these are problems, and we talk about all these problems in politics all the time. But really, we have some major problems down on the ground, let's say. And those are the problems that I could honestly go off more passionately on those problems than I could the greater problems, the macro problems. I'm not going to do that right now, don't worry. But every now and then I will talk about it in this show. But suffice to say, the point is, I am wearing the jacket tonight because last week I talked about this and I said, there was a time when I would wear the jacket. Whoops. Wow, my microphone looked like it was going to come out of the. I don't like the sound of that. Last week I talked about how I used to dress up for the show. Remember, we were watching old clips from shows from the past. 4 years ago when I first started the channel, and I was always dressed in jacket, shirt, sometimes jacket and t-shirt, a little more casual, like I am tonight. So I'm going to try, instead of coming on here and complaining about how badly men dress while I'm wearing a sweater with like a t-shirt with one part of it protruding and the other part hidden, looking horrible, like I did last week, I'm going to come on here and I'm going to dress more professionally. So I'm walking the walk and not just talking about it. So every night, other than like I guess Friday, maybe Friday we'll have like a casual if I do a stream on Friday. Mind you, I don't usually do a stream on Friday. So maybe Friday night streams will be casual. We still have not come up with a name yet. I know it's a disgrace for the show. For now, it's just Florida Millennial Live. Lots to talk about tonight, but unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's just, sometimes I get tired of talking about the election. It's just like, I don't want to just come on here and bore you every stream with more polling news and polling numbers. Because first of all, and I may be kind of putting myself out of business here, because the whole point of this channel was to give you polling updates and election updates, electoral college, betting odds, all that kind of thing. But honestly, like, it's gotten to the point where the polls are so all over the place, you can't even make sense of them. And I know a lot of people don't even care. Like, I'm not looking at the polls. The polls are wrong half the time. I don't care about them. But on the other hand, I do want to kind of make sure we realize, even though polling can be wrong, a lot of times polling is correct, and a lot of times polling shows us trends. So we shouldn't look at polling to think, oh, well, so and so is down by 3 points, they're going to lose. What we should be doing is looking at polling trends. And that is why I like Nate Silver's site, because he does do that. He does do the trends. He does, weekly trends, monthly trends, that kind of thing. So it gives you some more context, because when you have polling that's just coming from everywhere, every which angle, and one has up by 5, one has down by 3, it's like, how do you make sense of this stuff anymore? And I think a lot of people have just checked out. And so I don't want to bore you every time I come on here to live stream with just polling stuff, because that's annoying, and I wouldn't want that for my own stream, or for a stream that I'm watching. So I don't want it for my own stream. But because it's an election, I'm going to come on here. I'm going to start every show with betting odds, and then polling market, and then Silver Bulletin. And tonight we're going to talk about the New York Times Siena poll, which is probably Trump's best poll from the New York Times in the history of Trump polling in the New York Times. And I think somebody did say on X that it quite literally was his best poll ever from the New York Times. So we're coming towards the end of September now. Another thing is whether or not I will be streaming the vice presidential debate. That is on October the 1st, which I believe is early next week. I'm not sure what day it is. But October 1st, J.D. Vance versus Tim Walz. I have to be honest with you, I'm not that excited about it. I'm not like pumped up to come on here and like watch live this thing. But I think there might be some interesting things that happen. It can't possibly be more entertaining than Trump, but whatever, we'll see. The thing is, I need to find out first if I can stream it on YouTube. It's very tricky. As you know, I streamed the conventions, both of them, not in their entirety, but I streamed Trump's speech at the RNC, and I tried to stream most nights of the convention, not the whole night, but a good chunk of it. And I'm always kind of cautious about getting dinged. Now, the problem with the conventions was they play music all the time when someone's walking out, and then YouTube picks that up, and it's a copyright strike or what have you. The debates are different. I think the debates are fair use. I don't know whether or not they are, but I'm pretty sure debates are fair use. So I'll look into it and I'll see. I have until early next week to figure that out, whether or not I'm going to do the live stream of the debates. I would love to. I would really love to. But as I say, I'm not like super excited about it, but that's just something that I am considering doing. All right. So I think that's all the housekeeping that we need to do. I'm going to try and do every night live. Try to do every night live at 9:00. Now I was late tonight. That's okay. 9 or 10 is fine. I don't want to do 11 and midnight streams. Although whenever I do a midnight stream, all the regulars come on YouTube and they start commenting like in the last 10 minutes. So I did a stream last week and I'm almost done. And then people start coming on and commenting and asking me stuff. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll stay another hour. But anyway, so I'm going to try and be really consistent so people know when I'm on. And I know there are some people who have clicked that bell to get notified when I'm on. So I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone who's subscribed. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Click the, do they show it on the live stream? The little icon in the bottom right? Yeah, they do. There it is right there. Click that. And so that's all. Let's get into everything. What should we look at first here? Let's see. Registration numbers. We'll talk about that too. Let's just go to the poly market to start things off like we do all the time. So I'll make sure that looks good. Does it look good? Yeah, okay. So let's take a look at it. This is where we're at now on poly market. This is the betting odds. Remember, this is not polling. This is betting. Kamala got out to a 3 or 4 point lead late last week. That has narrowed since then to 50-48. I'm assuming the New York Times poll that came out was a big part of that because it was very heavily favored to Trump, and we'll talk about that in a second. But that's where we are in poly market odds. Now let me go straight to, we can make this a routine every week. Now let's go to the silver bulletin. I know people hate Nate Silver. I get it. And I know that Mr. Chapman does not like Nate Silver. He has his own YouTube channel, by the way, now. David Chapman, his own show. Go there, subscribe, watch. Okay, so who's ahead in the polls? Kamala started kind of breaking out a little bit, and nothing much has changed in the national polling. 49% for Kamala, 46% for Trump. That 46 number is not good enough for Trump. But you know what I always say, and I don't want to repeat it. You know what I always say. 2 points under polled is Trump. So I think he's probably around 48. I would love to see this number on the silver bulletin at 48 or 49, because then we're really cooking if he's there. Let's go down here to, again, the only real use of polls in a race like this where it's very tight is trends. Where are we trending? So if you look at the trend here, change from last week, change from last month, you see that we have done a complete transformation here, because change from last month, a month ago, meaning the change in the month since Biden dropped that, was all Democrat. They, Kamala made huge leaps because Biden was flailing and failing. And so that's the way it was going then. Now things are shifting back to Trump. according to these polls. So if you look at change from last month, in the national polling, Trump's made up a point, about a point and 2/10. He's made up a point in Michigan, made up a point in Wisconsin, almost a point he's made up in North Carolina. He's made up 3 points in Arizona, 3 points in Minnesota, where Trump is polling at 44%. So, looking at a month ago, Trump's doing well. Change from last week, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, there's some shift for Kamala in Pennsylvania, a point, in Michigan, a point. And then very, very marginal shifts toward Trump in North Carolina and Georgia. But according to Nate Silver on this polling aggregator, we have Kamala leading by 1 point in Pennsylvania, leading by 3 points, well, more like 2 points in Michigan. Wisconsin up by 2. North Carolina, Trump leads by 1. Georgia, Trump leads by 1. Arizona, Trump leads by 2. Florida, Trump leads by 4. Nevada, she leads by 1. Minnesota, she leads by 4. So, or let me see, probably 5 or 6. So there you go. And Virginia is not even on this list. There's been a lot of talk about Virginia since the poll came out showing the race pretty much tied. So a lot of people were talking about that. Do I think Trump has a chance in Virginia? Yes. And I get more bullish about it every week, but because every now and then you get a poll that comes out and you're like, oh, so you're saying there's a chance, huh? But overall, I hate to say I'm pretty pessimistic about Virginia, and I have been for a long time, just because it's a state that's been changing a lot. But anything can happen, as we know. 2016. The reason why I hold out at least a little bit of hope for Virginia is that when you think back to the candidates that Trump lost Virginia to, Hillary by a little bit, Biden by a lot, these are candidates who have been in Democrat politics for a long time. They're viewed as kind of Democrat stalwarts, Hillary and Biden, moderate, nothing extreme. No one was really accusing, well, they were, but it's, fallaciously, or salaciously, I should say, attacking Biden and Hillary as extreme and socialist or whatever. Doesn't really work because people know that they aren't that. So in that sense, it's possible that Kamala will not do as well as those Democrats in Virginia, because in order to win Virginia, you got to have a lot of kind of Republican or leaning Republican people, moderate Republicans voting Democrat. And they did for Hillary because Hillary, they know who she is and whatever. And they thought Trump was crazy, I guess. And then Biden, of course, they love Biden. Biden is like a blue dog Democrat, as I always say. No one uses that phrase anymore, but a very moderate, very known commodity. So it may be possible that they look at Kamala and they go, no, I'm not voting for Kamala. So maybe they won't go for Trump, but they might not come up for Kamala either. And that only stands to benefit Trump. So that's that about Virginia. A tough state to figure out because if you look at the governor races too, which are different, of course, but the governor races have swung majorly back and forth. So we'll see. The other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of polling, and this is probably the most important thing, is as you know, Pennsylvania is going to be probably the whole ball game. I need to get that pop filter. I know I really do. And the thing is, I keep putting it off, and it's probably going to get here in like a day from Amazon, and it's probably going to cost like $5. So, Pennsylvania is going to really be the whole shebang, because Pennsylvania, if Trump wins Pennsylvania and he holds on to Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona, it's over. Trump wins, but he needs Pennsylvania, and if he doesn't get Pennsylvania, he's got to get creative in other ways. So this is statewide registration in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, really, we should have Scott Presler on the show because he's been living in Pennsylvania literally for like 3 years. He's seen this from way back that this was going to be a big state. So as you can see here, wait, let me change this so you can see it because you probably can't see anything, right? Give me a second. 1 second. Okay, there we go. And then I'm gonna zoom in a bit so you can really see. Okay. Statewide registration. This is from Nate Reibner. Statewide registration advantage is now Democrat plus 338,000. You may think, oh my gosh, 338,000. Well, 14 weeks ago, it was 377,000. And as you see, it has dropped since then to 375, 73, 71, 68, into the 50s, and now it is into the 40s. So you see that the Republicans are really closing that registration gap. And early voting has begun in Pennsylvania. And they do have data right now on who's voting and who's been requesting ballots. And it has been much lower for the Democrats. Let me see if I can find those numbers. I probably should have had those ready for you. But let me see if this Nate Reibner guy has any info. I should probably go to Scott Presler's. But here's a look at the state, by the way, just so you understand what's going on there and the dynamics of it. And you think, how can they possibly lose? How can Trump possibly lose Pennsylvania when it's this red? Well, the problem is all these red areas are very sparsely populated. It's very rural. And then you've got Philly, which is like, I don't know, I would hazard to say like more than half the state lives in Philly and Pittsburgh. So this vote isn't really evenly distributed. So if you can really run up the score in the rural areas and then, maybe up your numbers a bit in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, you can win. And I was reading about Virginia last night, and there were some article talking about how Glenn Youngkin, how he pulled it off winning. And it was pretty narrow. I think 2 points. He won the gubernatorial race in the Commonwealth of Virginia in 2021. But the way he did it was he really did well in the rural areas. So he upped his margins there as much as he could. And then he just got a little bit more in those suburban Democrat areas. And that's how he won. And I think, honestly, that's how you win Pennsylvania. And I've been saying for a long time, Trump needs to focus on the white male voter in Pennsylvania because that's who's going to win it for him. And incidentally, that's who lost it for him in 2020. In order to understand where Trump needs to make up and what he needs to do, you need to go back and look at 2020 exit polls. And I know exit polls can only show you so much, but still, you have to go back and see where was it that he really lost. And there's all this talk about, Hispanics. Trump needs to target Hispanics. He needs to get African Americans, women. It's like, yeah, it's great if he's upping his numbers in all those categories, but those aren't really the categories that he dropped in. He really was dropping off with white working class men. And that's why he lost Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. And those were the keys to his victory in 2016. So I have a feeling that as the race stands right now, I'm probably not going to find those mail-in vote numbers. I'll have those by tomorrow. And they'll probably be updated tomorrow anyway. So, but my sense of where the race is right now is that Trump is in a good position, but he needs to really keep hammering home the message to these Rust Belt voters. Because I think right now he's probably winning in Georgia. He's probably winning in North Carolina. And he's probably winning in Arizona. And if he puts those three kind of base states together, and then he adds on Pennsylvania, he wins. So I think that's where the race is right now. Pennsylvania, and the Rust Belt's up for grabs, and he's probably going to win Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona. North Carolina is much, much tighter than I ever thought possible. But look, the state's changing a lot, and we've talked about this a lot. So there's that, and that's basically where I think things are. And she's begging for another debate, and I don't think he should do it. I really don't think there's anything to be gained by him doing another debate, really. And the fact that she is begging for another debate, what does that tell us? That tells me that she's not seeing the polling she wants. Because if she was seeing great polling, what point would there be to have another debate? She wouldn't be pushing it. So you're going to have biased moderators, and people have made up their mind about Trump. The problem for Kamala is people don't know about her. They're very cautious. They're very suspicious. The little they see of her, she's like kind of odd, giving weird answers. She was fine during the debate, I guess, but I think, she went on Oprah and it was horrible, and I don't think anyone's really watching that. But I just think people are seeing clips, little snippets. So when it comes to the debate, for her it's everything to gain, and for him it's everything to lose. What's he going to do? What could he possibly do going into one of these debates that would be beneficial for him? I suppose you could say he could go into it and come across as calmer and more serious than he did in the first one, but I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he wants to do that, and I wouldn't try and force him to do that. She is angry, and her campaign team is angry because they did not come away from that debate with a huge moment, like an own him moment that was going viral. That's what they wanted. They wanted a clip of her telling him off and giving it to him, and they wanted that clip of her shutting him down or coming up with a really clever one-liner, and they wanted it going viral on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all over every single political website in the country. That's what they wanted. And instead they got Trump talking about cats and dogs and songs about that. So in a sense, Trump, by saying that comment, which seemed at the time maybe to be ill-advised, it's actually turned out great for him because it has sucked all the energy out of that debate for her. And I mean the debate coverage. I know the debate's long over now, like 2 weeks ago, but the coverage since then, she didn't really come out of that debate with a knockout punch, and that's what she really needed. And that's what she wants. Again, she wants another shot at it. And I think Trump would be wise to say, no, you're not getting another shot at it. So, I think Trump needs to stay out of it. Don't do another one. Nothing to gain for him there. Speaking of Pennsylvania, this is an interesting development. John Fetterman has weighed in, and he says, this is the headline, Fetterman says Trump has, quote, special kind of place, unquote, in Pennsylvania after assassination attempt. Trump's relationship with the people of Pennsylvania only deepened after the Butler assassination attempt, Fetterman said. I'm probably not supposed to say that word on here, but okay. Former President Donald Trump has a special connection with the people of Pennsylvania, Democrat Senator John Fetterman warns. Fetterman made the observation during a conversation with the Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg during the 2024 Atlantic Festival on Thursday. Trump has created a special kind of hold within the coronets he's made, the party, and he has a special kind of place in Pennsylvania, and I think that only deepened after the first assassination attempt, Fetterman said. A deranged gunman attempted to Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania in July. The shooting, which Trump miraculously survived with only a wound on the side of his head, sharpened support among his diehard base. Quote, I also want people to understand, it's not science, but there's energy and there are kinds of anger on the ground in Pennsylvania. And people are very committed and strong, Fetterman said Thursday. And I joke that his signs became like the state flower, and you see that everywhere. Wow. However, after President Biden's withdrawal from the race and Vice President Kamala Harris's rapid ascension as a Democrat presidential nominee, polls indicate she holds a slight lead over Trump in the Keystone State. A Thursday poll from the Washington Post had Harris at 48% among likely and registered voters, while Trump sits at 47%. A New York Times poll gave Harris a slightly larger lead, with the vice president sitting at 50% compared to Trump's 46%. Fetterman expressed skepticism of Harris's reported lead in Pennsylvania on Thursday, comparing the situation to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's 7-point lead in Pennsylvania that ultimately collapsed on Election Day during her failed 2016 presidential bid. Quote, everybody thought that it was in the bag, and that's not the energy and the other kinds of things that were really consistent with what I'm witnessing all across, Fetterman recalled. It's kind of hard to read his quotes because the quotes are still a little bit mangled. And then, sadly, we saw what happened. Quote, people understand who he is and what he's about, and enough people think that that's the feature, and it's not a bug. Exactly. That line really was genius in a way, and I can't believe the genius had to come from Fetterman, but it did. It's so true. What he's saying there is Trump's demeanor, Trump's craziness is a feature and not a bug. Because the whole reason, and I feel like I'm really repeating myself here, the whole reason why people like Trump in the first place is he's unfiltered. He's a little bit wild. He's a little bit crazy. He's entertaining. He's funny. That's why people like Trump. That's why people were attracted to Trump in the first place. It's a feature, not a bug. You know, all these commentators and prognosticators and pollsters, advisors, consultants. They keep saying over and over, and honestly, I am so tired of hearing this, but they keep saying over and over again, well, what Trump really needs to do is he needs to focus on policy. He needs to focus on his record. I hear this all the time, and it's getting to be actually really annoying. They say he needs to focus on his record. He has a great record. If he would just focus on his record and stop attacking her. This is not how voters, the majority of voters do not vote thinking about policy and a agenda and record. They vote on the person. They vote on energy from the person and vibes from the person and leadership qualities, courage. These are huge things. And one of the first times that I realized this was when the first election I ever watched was in 2004. First election I ever watched. And it was George W. Bush versus John Kerry. And I remember reading, this was a couple years after, of course, but because I was very young at the time, but a couple years after that election, I was reading a report, and I think it was in a British newspaper, not the Daily Mail, but something like that, where the whole piece was essentially about why did people vote for George Bush? Because it was just like kind of like Europeans examining America because they all thought like no one likes Bush and like he's a war criminal. No one's voting for him. He's going to lose. And then he won. And Europeans were probably like, wait, what? How did that happen? Like, remember the big headline? How can people be so stupid? How can 60 million Americans be so stupid or whatever? So it was almost a piece like interviewing Bush voters, asking them about what their reasons were for reelecting President Bush at the time. And what I was struck by was how there were probably like 20 answers on there: men, women, old voters, young voters, whatever. What stuck out to me, and I've always remembered this because it's so applicable today, is that almost every single response did not have to do with I'm voting for Bush because of tax cuts. I'm voting for Bush because of the war. I'm voting for George Bush because of, terrorism. I don't know. Like there was no, I'm voting for Bush because of abortion. I'm voting for Bush because of gay marriage. No, it had nothing to do with that. Almost every single answer was something like, he's a very strong leader, very moral man, very courageous man, very steadfast. I noticed over and over the answers had nothing to do with actual politics and policy. They all had to do with personality, with demeanor, with, as they say now, aura. And it dawned on me back then that people do not tend to, I mean, there are people who do, but overwhelming majority of voters do not vote for president based on a policy line item. They don't vote based on some sort of agenda. They don't go to the website and go, "Oh, I like so and so's plan." Most of them are going to be, I'm voting for Trump because he looked like a badass after that attempt on his life, and I'm voting for Trump because he's unfiltered. I'm voting for Trump because he's not a politician. And on the other side, you'll hear, I'm voting for Kamala because she's going to be the first woman president. I'm voting for Kamala because she's changed. It will have nothing to do with fracking or any of this. So all these people saying Trump needs to focus on his agenda, focus on his record. They have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea. They think that because they live in the political world and they're always talking about politics, that everyone is like that. Everyone is not like that. Most people are going on with their life. They don't have time to follow this stuff. They're really not as invested in all the policy stuff as maybe like 10% of the population is. So most of the electorate is voting on this stuff. And you can call it voting on vibes. You can call it whatever you want. I'm sure there are names for it and ways to describe it. But Fetterman, Fetterman really summed it up pretty good here, pretty well. He said, "Look, these voters, they like him, and what the DC crowd sees as a bug, it's not. It's a feature. What they see as a negative in Trump is actually a positive. What they see as Trump's weaknesses are actually his strengths." So I quite enjoyed hearing that, because it's like he's the only one. Like, why did it take John Fetterman to point this out? And it reminds me a lot of in 2016 how Michael Moore came out and said, "Look, you guys have no idea how popular Trump is in Michigan. You have no idea how much they hate Hillary Clinton in these Great Lake states. They really don't like her. And a lot of them maybe don't even like Trump, but they just want something different. And they appreciate his rhetoric. They appreciate a little bit of outside the box thinking." And I don't know if people shrugged off Michael Moore back then, but he was getting a lot of interview requests on November the 9th because he seemed to be the only one who saw it coming. Not the only one, but the only one on the left, at least, I guess, who saw it coming. And I'm kind of wondering if we're seeing the similar or same thing with Fetterman, who's saying, like, look, and remember, Fetterman isn't just from Pennsylvania. He's from real Pennsylvania. He's from the places that Trump needs and the places that have really been destroyed by globalist policies and all that. So interesting coming from him, and I think it's worthy to note of it. And I think if Trump ends up winning this thing in Pennsylvania and winning the presidency back, we're going to look back at this and say, Fetterman warned us. He warned us about it. But okay, let's take a look at the Siena poll. We probably should have looked at that right off the bat. This is the big poll that came out today for Trump, and surely this will change his. I haven't looked at his chances on Nate Silver's site yet, but surely this will help him. And I did see someone say, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was the case, this is the first New York Times poll that has Trump leading since Trump announced in 2015. Like, he has never led in a New York Times poll, supposedly. I find that kind of hard to believe, but they were saying this is the first time that the New York Times poll is showing him leading. Like, in any state, any swing state, that seems hard to believe. But let's go through it. Arizona, Trump 50, Harris 45, 5-point lead in Arizona. North Carolina, Trump 49, Harris 47. So the lead is smaller in North Carolina than it is Arizona. I don't know about that, but look, I'm sure he'll take it. 49-47. Georgia, 49-45, 4-point lead. So as I described, these are Trump's base states. Let's call them the base states. If he can carry Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, that's his base. That's his must win. Got to get that. And then after that, Pennsylvania. I mean, that's a major task, but it's doable. Now, if he doesn't get Pennsylvania and he keeps the base states, he's got to get creative. He's got to put together maybe Wisconsin and Michigan, or Nevada and Michigan, or Nevada and Wisconsin. More likely Nevada and Michigan, I think. People keep telling me that Michigan is the toughest lift. I'm not convinced of that, but okay. But this is a really good poll for him. Very, very good news. This isn't just like, oh, he's leading by 1 in Georgia. No, he's leading by 4 in Georgia. And you know what I always say? I'm going to repeat it again. People are going to literally get sick and unsubscribe of me for me saying this. But Trump always polls better. And there's people who are like arguing with me on one of the videos I posted. No, that's not true. Because look at 2022, where they oversampled Republicans. Yeah, they did. They overpolled Republicans. But listen to what I said, mean commenters. Thank you for your comments, because it does boost engagement and I like it. But listen back to what I said. I said Trump is always underpolled by 2 or more percent, not Republicans. Republicans, again, if anything, Republicans are overpolled. They end up doing worse than the polls suggest, especially if you go back and look at 2022. And they'll say, well, Trump was technically, Trump was on the ballot. No, he wasn't. He was not running for anything. Yeah, he endorsed certain candidates, yes, but Trump was not running for president. So be very careful. Trump is the one who's underpolled. So if he is underpolled, that means he's winning Georgia by 6 points. Now, I actually don't think it's going to be that much, but I do think he will win Georgia by a significant amount if this is anywhere near accurate. So you put together those states, and those are the base states, and then you add in Pennsylvania or somewhere like that. As this person says, if Trump wins Pennsylvania, he'll be the next president. Yes, true. Here's someone. I like this for comparison. New York Times polls from 2020. Arizona, Biden 49, Trump 40. They had Trump losing Arizona by 9 points on September 16th, 2020. Georgia, 45-45, tied. Look at the real result, too. Final result. They had Biden winning Arizona by 9. Biden won Arizona by 0.3. They had Biden tied in this. Georgia was the only one. And I said this, I think it was on X last night to somebody. I said, Georgia's the only one. Because they said, well, it wasn't all polls. I said, yes, okay, there was one. Georgia. Look, they had it tied, and Biden ended up winning it by 0.3. North Carolina, they had Trump down by 1. Ended up winning it by 1.3. So Arizona was their big fat miss. So hopefully that's happening again, and Trump's actually winning Arizona by a lot more than that. But we'll see. We'll see. Poly market odds. Let's check again, because this is real time. 50-48. Okay. All right. We don't need any more. I wanted to talk about, how long have we been going for? Let me just check. Hour and 13. I hadn't been on for an hour and 13 though, right? I started at 9:40. Now we're at 10:30. I wanted to talk about this story. Let me pull it up first for you. Let's get off of the election for a second. Mind you, this does sort of have to do with the election. But this story really is quite intriguing. Oh, one more thing. I wanted to show you this. I mean, what are we doing here? What the heck are we doing? Look at this photo. Can you see? Hold on. Let me make sure. Hold on. Yeah, no, no, hold on. Look at this. I mean, have we completely lost our minds? Look, this is a photo of the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, Josh Shapiro. He is signing artillery shells, and Zelensky is there. He's signing them. This is like sick. This photo almost looks like it should be AI or something, or it's like a parody, but it's not. It's real. Zelensky is there in his Henley. He got rid of the Baby Gap T-shirt for a while. Now he's wearing the Henley. Guy can't put on a jacket or tie. I can wear a jacket for my podcast with 100 people watching, but Zelensky can't dress nicely for his war as he leads his nation. But whatever. I'm not going to talk about clothing too much tonight. But look at this photo. It's like sick and evil, honestly. It's like you're signing artillery, you're signing bombs to be dropped in Russia. Like, what? If this is used as a ad for Trump, I mean, it really should be, because Trump keeps saying, I want peace. I want peace. They ask him, the media, the sick media people ask him, who do you want to win the Russia-Ukraine war, Mr. President? And he says, I don't have a side. I want peace. I want people to stop killing each other. Remember the famous tweet? I want the world to stop killing each other. I want people to stop dying. And now we have the guy who almost was the vice presidential pick. And if he isn't the vice presidential pick. So maybe he may cost Kamala the election. We might look back and say, man, maybe she should have chosen him. Instead, she chose Waltz from Minnesota. But setting that aside for a second, if there is any image that is the opposite of America first, it's this image. This just says it all. The whole image says it all. You've got a governor of a major state, Commonwealth, in the Union, with a Sharpie signing bombs paid for by American taxpayers to be dropped on a nation that should not be an enemy of the United States, should not be a nation that the United States is at war with. And in the background, I don't know who that is. Is that another politician? Shaking hands with Zelensky as what? As we cut him another check for $1 billion, $5 billion, $10 billion? How much more? This was the whole point of America First. This was the whole point. And not just America First. Every nation needs to really start thinking about this. Somebody made a good point. I think it was Depressed Ginger. I was watching him today. Why isn't Europe dealing with this? Why isn't Europe the one, other European countries, helping him out, sending him ammunitions? Let them go and get their politicians to sign off on the artillery shells. This is at an American factory. An American factory is making artillery shells to send and drop what? In Russia? For Zelensky? Ukraine, a country the United States gains nothing from. There is no purpose for doing this. Meanwhile, here in America, there's major problems. People here have a hard time. And this is where the money is going. This photo is just a complete disgrace. I mean, nothing says it more. Nothing opposes America First more. This is the antithesis of America First. And by the way, I have no idea why Trump does not say that anymore. He doesn't say America First anymore. I don't know. Did Lassa Vida and Wiles tell him you can't say it anymore? This is just like, I don't know. Look, I'm no military expert, but this whole thing is just so stupid. Like this needs to end right now. Trump needs to get elected, and he needs to get Zelensky over here and say, "Sit your ass down, pal. Putin's coming into the room, and we work this out now. Nothing more happens. And if you don't cut a deal within the next 48 hours and you don't work it out, the funding stops. The money dries up." And I'm sure you can make threats to Russia too on both sides. But how long more is America going to bankroll this complete quagmire and catastrophe? And this was the whole point, by the way, of the original Trump run, is that the United States just gets taken advantage of six ways to Sunday. Every single nation taking advantage. Friends and foes. Ukraine taking billions of dollars for a war they're going to lose. Middle Eastern nations begging America to go into war for them. European nations and allies in NATO not contributing the amount they agreed to contribute. And then when Trump goes and says, "Hey guys, can you pay up? Can you give us the amount that, by the way, you agreed to?" They say he's trying to destroy NATO. No, he's trying to save NATO. Are people not aware that the NATO allies have been delinquent for how many ever years? And these aren't countries that are struggling. It's one thing if you're like trying to get a country who's in a complete depression to pay up. They're like, "Look, like we can't pay up right now." But these countries are flourishing. These countries are not depressed nations. And somehow they can't pay their fair share to NATO. And all Trump did was go in there and say, "Hey guys, time to pay up. And if you don't pay up, why the heck are you here? Why do we shoulder all the burden?" So Trump should not be on the campaign trail talking about no tax on tips. He should be on the campaign trail saying, "America first, America first. We're not going to bankroll these wars anymore. We're going to broker a peace." There you go. There's a line right there, just off the top of my head. You can use that line, La Savita and Wiles and Lewandowski. Look, Trump knows all this stuff. Trump's smart. He is totally awake to what's going on, and we saw that when he ran in 2016 and in 2020, but more so in 2016. He knows what's going on. He knows all this. He knows what's up. But they feed him the lines, and sometimes he has to stick to it, I guess. I don't know. And that's why, by the way, that's why I'm so opposed to when people say, "Well, he needs to stick to policy." If he were to take that strategy and just stick to policy, you know what that would entail, right? That would entail those advisors who I just mentioned, Lasavita and Wiles, writing up some BS line for him. They'd make him sound like an establishment politician. They'd make him sound like Mitt Romney. We'd be running Mitt Romney. We don't want Mitt Romney. We want Trump. Trump knows how to speak in this vernacular. Trump knows what's going on. He doesn't need the prompter to tell him. He knows. He knows exactly what the main issue here is. He knows that America is being taken advantage of. He knows that we're being bled dry. He knows that the country's in decline. He knows that we're giving money to places we shouldn't be and not paying attention to ourselves. He knows America's borders are wide open and everyone else's borders are protected by who? American troops and American dollars. And it's utterly insane. All right. Take a breather. But this photo is just like, honestly, when you see it, it just shows you how far gone things are. And that's not even a Republican thing to say. Like someone could be literally like, and that's why the message is so appealing, by the way. Someone could be like pro-choice, um, for higher taxes, like you could be literally a socialist. You could be, you'd be like, ah, we're for open borders, open immigration policy. We like that. But we can also believe that America shouldn't be just the bank account for every single nation and every single war and every single conflict. It's crazy. Anyways, can you believe I almost forgot to talk about that? That was like a major rant, but anyways, let's go to the more humorous story. All right. Let's bring up this story, my favorite story of the day, because it involves Olivia Nuzzi. I don't know if it's Nuzzi or Nuzzi. I never have known. For those of you who don't know who Olivia Nuzzi is, she was one of the first to cover Trump, I thought fairly objectively. She somehow, I think Trump liked her, not in the way that we're about to talk about, but I think Trump liked her, and that's why he gave her access. So this is in the New York Post. I thought I had another article here. Hold on. This is the Post article. There's another one I had though. I thought. Oh yeah, this is a piece in the Daily Beast here. Should we read the Daily Beast piece instead? I think I will actually. We'll go back to the New York Post story, but let's read the Beast story first. So Olivia Nuzzi, just to set the table, Olivia Nuzzi, I first started following her on X and reading her pieces in probably 2015 actually, definitely 2016, because she covered Trump, but it wasn't in the normal horse race type of way. She would cover like interesting stories about him, and she would somehow gain pretty unprecedented access to him. And in the same ways that Maggie Haberman would, Trump does allow a lot of access to liberal journalists if he trusts them and if he likes them. And I mean, who can know how you win him over that way? But for whatever reason, Olivia Nuzzi did. So I've been following her for a while. She's pretty, she's pretty liberal in a lot of her preferences, I'm sure. And that does come out a little bit in the pieces she writes, a little bit. But you know what? I can, because it's not, she's not trying to lay it on real thick. But then I noticed, when was this? Maybe a year or two ago, that she was engaged to Ryan Lizza. Wait, is it Ryan Lizza or is it Chris Lizza? No, I know. I'm pretty sure it's Ryan Lizza. Ryan Lizza, who is also a journalist, and he was always on CNN too. So that's the extent, really. She still writes a lot of pieces, and she wrote a big piece about RFK Jr. Months ago, and then this news comes out. This is in the Daily Beast. Married RFK Jr. 70 bragged he had intimate photos of reporter Olivia Nuzzi 31. Now I'm going to read the piece, but just to explain, Nuzzi had to resign, or I think maybe she was laid off or fired from whoever she was writing for. I can't remember who she was with, but because she's literally like having not a physical relationship, she said, but an online relationship with one of the major players in the 2024 election. Obviously, that's not Kamala. Obviously, that's not Trump. So it's RFK. And then the story has now broke. So a source said the two had met multiple times, but instead, those meetings included public functions and maintained that Olivia Nuzzi and RFK Jr.'s relationship was never physical. So let's read a little bit of it. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s boasting to friends that star reporter Olivia Nuzzi had sent him intimate photos was what led the scandal to explode, the Daily Beast can reveal. News of the 70-year-old's bragging reached the ears of the 31-year-old New York Magazine correspondent's boss, who confronted her over the photos. Oh, so it's New York Magazine she was with. Nuzzi repeatedly denied an affair to David Haskell, New York's editor-in-chief, but eventually told the truth. Nuzzi has now been suspended and is being investigated over her journalistic ethics by an outside party. Puck News reported Friday night that Nuzzi allegedly sent very demure, nudes of herself to RFK Jr. during their sexting affair. Haskell confronted Nuzzi about the affair during a 5:30 p.m. meeting at the magazine's downtown Manhattan offices on September 13th. A source familiar with the matter told the Daily Beast the meeting was limited to just Nuzzi and Haskell. Haskell told Nuzzi, 31, she's very young, younger than me, that he had been informed that Kennedy had bragged about his relationship with Nuzzi to others, including possessing photographs of her, and that they were in a romantic relationship. Mind you, Nuzzi is engaged at this time, and of course RFK Jr. is married. But this is a Kennedy thing, we shouldn't be surprised. Nuzzi initially and repeatedly denied the relationship, the source told the Daily Beast. Haskell gave Nuzzi the option to admit the truth, and she eventually confirmed the relationship. New York Magazine did not comment. Nuzzi declined to comment. RFK Jr. did not return requests for comments, so no one's saying anything. On Thursday, after news of their affair broke, because I don't know if it was an actual affair, Kennedy forcefully denied ever meeting Nuzzi socially. Mr. Kennedy only met Olivia Nuzzi once in his life for an interview she requested, which yielded a hit piece, a Kennedy spokesperson told CNN. However, a source familiar with the matter said the two had met multiple times, though they cautioned those meetings included public functions and maintained that Nuzzi and Kennedy's relationship was never physical. Nuzzi has established herself as a force among political reporters, a Daily Beast employee from 2014 to 2017. She was named among Forbes 2018 30 Under 30, and she was awarded the American Society of Editors Next Award, which honors breakthrough journalists under the age of 30 in 2019. This was because of her coverage of Trump and 2016 election, 2020 election, but mostly Trump. Her work in 2024 was no exception. Nuzzi broke in July how President Biden's advisors, this is the piece I read, it wasn't an RFK piece. It was a piece on Biden. Her work in 2024 was no exception. Nuzzi in July how President Biden's advisors had worked to shelter the president so that audiences would not pick up on its cognitive decline, a piece that helped tilt the coverage of Biden's age, much to the ire of Democrats, whose complaints about Nuzzi led to Bloomberg nixing its press campaign for her show Working Capital. So you see how this all works, by the way, before we read the rest of the piece here. Are you seeing how this works? So Olivia Nuzzi, has always probably had a little mistrust from her. Let me make sure this ad's not here. I hate how they put these ads up like this because I'm always afraid that I'm going to get dinged for having like an ad in my. Okay, let's make sure we have a photo. That's probably better, I guess. Okay. So, do you see how this works? Olivia Nuzzi is covering Trump for many years, and she somehow gains access to him, and I would argue does not paint him in as negative a light as many of her other peers in the media. So there's definitely a little bit of, I'm not going to say anger, but a little bit of suspicion of her in the media sphere. But at the same time, they let it slide. She wins these awards because they're like, look, it's good work. She's not complimentary of him. She doesn't hit him as hard as the rest of us do, but she has some good pieces on him, etc. But then she crossed the line. What did she do? No, it was not the affair that got her in trouble. What she really did happened before. Well, it's not an affair. Let me just say allegedly. That's not really what got her in trouble. The trouble started before that. The trouble started when she wrote an article about how Biden's advisors were sheltering him to make sure nobody saw and nobody was aware of the president's cognitive decline. So that's what has happened here. She wrote a negative piece which opened the floodgates. Remember, I don't know when this piece came out, but I have an idea it's probably around June, early July. This is after the debate, the Biden-Trump debate. There's all these musings about whether he's going to drop out or not. And every day it seems like there just needs to be one little push and out he goes of the race. She writes this piece in a major magazine, major publication, that Biden is in cognitive decline and those around him are sheltering him and making sure no one finds out about it. So it's a cover-up, essentially. She wrote about a Biden cover-up. And all of a sudden, 1 month later, the story breaks that ruins her career. I don't know about you, but it just seems a little bit too perfect. And if you ask me, I think there's some people who did not like that article she wrote. And they did some digging. It's probably well known. These things are known. Every media person knows who every other media person, what they're doing, and all the skeletons in the closet. It never gets reported. It's mutual respect. It's an industry thing. But when Olivia Nuzzi wrote that piece, maybe we can go take a look at it. When she wrote that piece, she crossed a major line. Major. And they never forgave her for it. And now what do we see? We see all these stories of her having an online affair with RFK Jr. You're telling me they just figured this out now? So look, I don't know this to be true, by the way. This is just me spitballing here, but I think this story, this so-called affair, has broken because of the article she wrote about Biden. Just saying, just one man's opinion. One man's opinion here. But it just seems the timing seems a little too perfect, doesn't it? Let's go back to the piece here. Where did I leave off? She followed that up with a report earlier this month on a sobered Trump using the former president's wounded ear as a narrative device into a man addled by now two attempts. News of the pairing sent shockwaves across the media industry after status reporter Olivia Darcy revealed Nuzzi's romantic relationship with Kennedy. The report recounted their months-long affair and how Nuzzi failed to disclose the boundary-crossing dynamic to her editors. Nuzzi admitted to the relationship in a statement to the Daily Beast and acknowledged it crossed journalistic red lines, even if it was never physical. Nuzzi had spoken about Kennedy repeatedly throughout 2024, including reporting on his attempts to get Secret Service protection and describing the presidential race as a three-man race in March. Oh, another one they didn't like. Earlier this year, the nature of some communication between myself and a former reporting subject turned personal, Nuzzi said. During that time, I did not directly report on the subject nor use them as a source. The relationship was never physical, but should have been disclosed to prevent the appearance of a conflict. I deeply regret not doing so immediately and apologize to those I've disappointed, especially my colleagues at New York Magazine. Kennedy, who has allegedly cheated on multiple past lovers, has been married to Curb Your Enthusiasm star Cheryl Hines since 2014. Nuzzi was engaged to Politico chief Washington correspondent Ryan Lizza, there he is, who revealed their separation in a note to Politico readers on Friday afternoon. The Kennedy news did not appear in the outlet's morning edition of Playbook, which Lizza co-writes. Because of my connection to the story through my ex-fiance, my editors and I have agreed that I won't be involved in any coverage of Kennedy in Playbook or elsewhere at Politico, he said in a statement. The two broke up last month. The magazine said on Thursday that Nuzzi was engaged in a personal relationship with a former subject relevant to the 2024 campaign while she was reporting on the campaign, which violated the publication's editorial standards. The magazine told readers an internal review of her 2024 work found no inaccuracies or bias, though it still placed her on leave pending a third-party review. Haskell informed staff Thursday night about the news, and he said in a newsroom memo the third-party review would factor into Nuzzi's future at the award-winning magazine. We are engaging in an independent third party to run their own review of the 2024 writing, which I believe will help us see with clear eyes if there is more we need to disclose or anything we need to correct, he wrote in a memo obtained by Semaphore. So there it is. There is the story, and there's the two right there. Great couple. Once great couple. But the reason I wanted to read the story and talk about the story wasn't just because it's just like political gossip or something. But rather to show you what happens in liberal media world when you report on the wrong thing or when you go after the wrong people, because this is basically this caused Biden to get out of the race. Now you could say, well, maybe they wanted him to get out of the race. Why wouldn't they want him to get out of the race? Okay, fair enough. And honestly, I think the same thing happened to Mark Halperin too. Same thing happened to him. I mean, he was always seen as being more friendly to Trump than other journalists. And lo and behold, the news breaks of all these Me Too things back in, 2017. So honestly, to me, it all just seems very political to me. And it seems like this stuff is just found out somehow right after she writes this piece. I mean, let's go. I want to take a look and see if we can find the piece. Where would it be in? It'll take a while to search. Let's see what her Twitter feed's like. I don't really know if I still follow her or not. Let's see. Let's see here. Yeah, I am following her still. Here it is. 4th of July. I was right. Early July. Oh, no. It's not going to let me read it. It's not going to let us read it because we're not subscribed. Oh, well. Let's see. Can we see the... Okay, let's just see. This is the tweet here. She's pinned it. 4th of July was when the story broke, or when she wrote this story. In January, I began hearing similar stories from Democrat officials, activists, and donors who came away from interactions with Joe Biden disturbed by what they had seen. For New York Magazine, I wrote about the conspiracy of silence to protect the president. Now that is a no-no. I mean, she really went after him. Look at the cover. Look at everything. Wow. Poor Olivia Nuzzi, huh? Wow. She sends one bikini photo to RFK Jr., writes about Joe Biden being in cognitive decline, and this is what they do to her. This is what they do to our favorite journalist. I am declaring Olivia Nuzzi our favorite journalist here at show name to be announced shortly. Our favorite female journalist, our favorite journalist of any gender, Olivia Nuzzi. And look what they did to her for reporting the news, for reporting the truth. They have destroyed her career. They have destroyed her marriage. It is a real shame. All right, 11 o'clock. I think that's it. I wanted to come on and do a live stream tonight. And as I say, I'm going to try and do one every night around this time. And I know I say that every week, but I really have to start because the people demand it, first of all. And I demanded it myself. Because I was encouraged over the weekend. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button in the bottom right corner. So, and then click the notification bell if you can as well, so you know whenever I go live. I appreciate you watching on YouTube. If you're on X, please follow me, Florida Millennial on X. Appreciate all you there. I get so many viewers on X. You're like, what? I'm at 91 right now. So I like going live on X, and I feel like the more consistently I do so, people will know that I'm on. And so consistency is the name of the game right now. I have to consistently stream, and my strategy is starting to work. I'll do the live stream an hour, 2 hours like I'm doing tonight, and then I'll take clips from the live stream, 2 or 3 that are all about maybe 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of my best moments, which, I mean, the whole thing is a best moment, let's be real. But I take my best moments and then I share them. It's very surprising. Late last week, I kept saying I was going to do an electoral college prediction, but I thought I don't want to do another boring one. So instead, I did a best of, or a best case scenario, I should say. So, like, best case scenario. I guess we can bring myself back up here in 1 second. Best case scenario for Trump, and then best case scenario for whoops, that disappeared completely. Best case scenario for Trump, and then best case scenario for Kamala. Now, I posted the Trump one, and I thought this one's going to do great. And then I posted a couple other clips, and one was like me talking about Harry Enton, you know, the guy at CNN. My goodness gracious, Harry Enton. So, sorry, I was just looking at a message I got there. I put a clip out of me talking about Harry Enton and his polling, and that thing just went through the roof, like right away. Just took off like a rocket. Remember Trump would say, like a rocket ship. It just took off and did it incredibly. And then my electoral college one wasn't doing so well. It eventually picked up, and they're both doing well now. I got tons of comments, and so it was encouraging. Every negative comment I love. Like, even if I don't care if it's negative, I just want comments. I want engagement. I'm being very honest about it. So, and I try and respond to them all. Normally, I wouldn't respond to trolls, but it's good for the channel. It is good for the channel. So that's why I always say, I say thank you for your support, and that must kind of drive them crazy when I say thank you for your support, because it's like, no, I'm not supporting you. Kind of throws them off a little bit. But lots of positive comments too, by the way. Thank you for those all. Those seem to lag. The early ones always seem to be negative to get the ball rolling. So anyway, I'm gonna keep doing that. I'll post best of clips. I'll post my rant there about Shapiro signing the artillery. Man. Crazy stuff. I mean, it would be one thing if he was signing artillery for like an American war. It would still suck. But it'd be one thing. You could totally. No, honestly, no, I can't. I was gonna say I could totally see a Republican president. Like, I could totally see George W. Bush signing artillery, like, to go into Iraq. But no, I couldn't. They would never do something like that because it's crazy. It's crazy and it looks horrible and it looks like you love war. basically. So, man, oh man. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, that's it. I'm surprised that we didn't hear from what's his name again? S. Russell and check it out. I guess check it out didn't check it out tonight. So they really carry the load in the comments. Oh, there he is. Hello, hello. Were you here the whole time? You were here the whole time and you were holding back? Do not tell me that you just came in now because I will flip again. After doing a whole hour and a half. Okay, good. No, just got here, he says. Seriously? Wow. I have no words. I have no words. You're gonna have to go back and watch the replay because I can't go on for another hour like last time. Last time, check it out, and S. Russell arrived when I was closing out the show, and I thought, well, whatever, I'll just go on for another 2 hours if that helps. Yes, it does. It helps. Thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate everybody, especially our regular commenters. Check it out as one of them. I'm going to try to repeat. I'm going to try to come on and live stream every night around this time. And I will continue to post like highlight clips. So thank you to all who watch on YouTube. Please subscribe. Click the button in the right-hand corner and the bell notification. I don't know where the bell is, but there's a bell notification, I think, somewhere where you can know when I go live. So click that. For everyone on X, Twitter/X, I think I'm just going to stop saying Twitter. I'm just going to say X now. I do stream on X also. For everyone on X, please follow me, Florida Millennial. I go live on YouTube and X. I'm going to try and figure out a way. For some reason on my StreamYard, it will not let me stream to Rumble. And I'm not sure why that is. If that has something to do, well, no, that can't have something to do with YouTube because it's StreamYard that I use. But I kind of want to be posting on Rumble as well. I'm considering doing Kick and the other ones, but I don't know those as well because I'm turning into a boomer and I don't know. So, but for sure, YouTube and X every night around hopefully 9 or 9:30, latest 10 o'clock. I don't like doing 11 o'clock and midnight streams unless like it's something, breaking news or something I go on to talk about. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching wherever you are watching. Have a great rest of your night, and I will see you tomorrow night. Definitely same place, hopefully same time. God bless.